If you want to learn how to draw faces fast, then check this out. The first exercise we're going to do is so good, it's almost unethical. So what you're going to do is get a reference photo, duplicate it, and lower the opacity of the second one, and then you'll begin to do a breakdown. Set your line through the face, circle through the cranium, and then just draw the jaw. Now, very important, turn the second reference off. From here, you will draw the facial features as best you can, and the reason this works is because it doesn't matter how bad you screw up. In fact, I'll mess it up on purpose. And once you've placed the features, turn the underlying reference back on, and right here, you have picture-perfect feedback on every single one of your mistakes. You don't need to fix anything yet, just observe. You can even write down your mistakes. Now, once you've analyzed it, turn the reference back off and try to fix it. The goal is not for every line to fit perfectly when you turn off the reference, just that the features are generally in the right place. So this is interesting. After I placed the features seriously, I noticed that I had placed the eyes too far up. And I know that I have a tendency to do this in my own artwork. And I can say, oh, well, that's just a stylistic decision. And so when it comes to drawing the face in a certain way, like me placing the eyes further up, the thing is, if it really is a stylistic decision, then taking note of it will only reinforce that. When I'm aware that I've placed the eyes a bit further up, when I take note of that, I can say, oh yeah, but I actually prefer that look. Whereas if it's not really a stylistic decision, you just do things a certain way because that's kind of the only way you've ever done them. And if you take note of that, then you can try different things and you can realize, oh, it wasn't really a stylistic decision because I never really tried doing things a different way. So make sure to do breakdowns of different angles and different perspectives. For the second exercise, we're going to learn the planes of the face. Now, when I first started drawing, I remember that the Asaro head just seemed so complicated. The idea of learning the planes of the face was super intimidating. So we're going to start by doing a breakdown like we just did, but this time using an Asaro head as a reference. And once the features are in the right place, we're going to start to draw the planes of the face. Now, you might be thinking that you want to draw an anime style, so you don't have to learn the Asaro head. And you would be wrong. Faces of all styles need structure, or else they will look flat. And it's actually harder to have great structure in an anime style than it is with a semi-realistic style, so you need to study structure more, not less. So for now we're going to move away from breakdowns. They're very powerful, but it's important never to rely on them whenever you want to draw something. So now we're going to draw a skull. Skulls are so good for learning how to draw the face. Not just because the skull is literally what defines the structure of the face, but because skulls don't have to be pretty. A big reason artists struggle with learning structure is because they draw too many pretty girls. Drawing a face that is soft and also has good structure is very difficult. So by drawing skulls, you can forget about making it soft and pretty. So before we freehand faces, we're going to want to dial in on the facial features. And I think the best way to do this is to have a reference of a nose and then not necessarily copying that one reference, but just using it as a guide to draw a bunch of, in this, for example, a nose. But you would do the same with the eyes and the mouth. And again, I know you might want to draw cute anime noses, but try to understand the structure of, the nose or the eyes or the mouth as they are before you simplify them. So when it comes to drawing faces after reference without using breakdowns, I recommend not using the Loomis method. Not because you should never use the Loomis method, but because you probably already know about the Loomis method, you probably already tried it, and you should try it, but I think you should also try to draw faces intuitively, relying on observation instead of guidelines. Because I don't think there's one way of drawing the face that's the best for everybody. The Loomis method might be the best for you, but for me, I've found that drawing intuitively without guidelines works better most of the time. And I also specifically wanted to highlight not relying on arbitrary rules. Super common art advice is that when you're drawing the face and you're drawing the eyes should be one eye apart from each other. But there are tons of beautiful faces in real life and in art that defy all these rules of how you should draw something. Now, as for drawing faces of imagination, I would have to say that the big secret is basically just having done tons and tons of reference studies. But that's kind of a boring answer, so I figured I'd walk you through me drawing a girl from imagination, even though there's not that much to say. So I start by drawing the jaw, and something that I find helps when drawing from imagination is to basically just go with the way it's turning out. So I had intended for this to be like a perfectly centered front view, but I kind of noticed that the way it turned out was that she's like slightly more tilted to one side, so it's not like perfectly centered. And I think the best thing to do is just to go with that. As for drawing the infamous other eye, I just flipped the canvas, so it's the same as drawing the first eye. Don't be shy with using the transform tool. I did a selection of the eye and angled it upwards slightly because I felt like it was angled downwards too much. I'm still figuring out how I want to simplify Gnosis in my style, but the good thing is that since I have studied realistic structure of Gnosis, I have the freedom to try all kinds of different simplifications. And from this point on, it's just drawing the hair and did some light finishing touches. Anyway, I know this video was really focused for digital artists, and obviously I'm a digital artist, but I myself want to learn more about drawing traditionally. And so future videos are going to be, or I'm going to make a future video that's more about drawing with a pen and paper.